Welcome back to the Major League Baseball National League Preview Show. I'm Greg, the mad scientist for show, and with me today is James, the value man Dotson. Mr. Dotson, how goes it out there?
Hey, we're going well. Spring training games have officially begun. That means that the season is just around the corner, and we need to break down a few more teams for you.
Oh, yep. And tonight we are looking at the National League East. And out of these 5 teams in the National League East, we're going to start with the bottom and work our way up the ladder. And I think we're both in agreement here. The bottom dweller in the NL East is the woeful Miami Marlins.
Miami.
Yes, the Miami Marlins are definitely at the bottom of the NL East this year. They had an absolutely terrible year to start their first year with a new stadium. Everything that went on with the new coach last year, gotten rid of them. It's all behind them. Now they got to try to move forward. The main thing they did in the offseason to try to move forward, they were part of the huge trade with the Toronto Blue Jays, and they ended up getting a couple good prospects in the deal, outfielder Jake Marisnick and a pitcher in Justin Nicolino. But question is, will we see these top prospects in a Marlins uniform this year? I don't think you will. I think either they'll stay down in the minors all year, or they'll be part of another big deal as the Marlins need to try to rebuild as a whole all around to try to make this program get back on top.
You know, I can understand what Miami's trying to do. They are trying to, obviously rebuild, but you really can't hang a rebuilding program when you have somebody like Kevin Kuzmanoff, who, came off of a really, really bad last year coming on board. This guy's 31 years old, and he's trying to revive his career with the Marlins after hitting combined 276 with 2 home runs in 90 games with the Royals Class AA team last year. So it's just kind of hard to hang a rebuilding program around guys like this that are pretty much, I hate to say it, but over the hill.
Well, and it started when they tried to get Ozzie Guillen. They were trying to, get a big name in there that'll kind of spur interest because, face it, Miami was not selling tickets down there. They got a big name in Ozzie Guillen to coach the team. They got a new stadium, and still ticket sales were low. And then Ozzie Guillen made his, famous, well, infamous is more like it, retort about Fidel Castro and having respect for Fidel Castro, and it all went downhill from there. The team didn't do well. Tickets were not being sold. So I think Miami, for good reason, is in a bit of a rebuilding year. There's not much I can get excited for this team this year. Juan Carlos Stanton, batting in probably the 3 or the 4 hole this year, will be the lone bright spot on the team. And as a result, I see them possibly losing 100 games this year, but, don't worry too much, Miami Marlin fans, because you do have prospects if they do the right way with them, like I think the Marlins organization is pretty good at doing. I think that this team will be back up and running in the next couple of years, but for the time being, it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, I expect many easy seats to obtain. I don't see too many sellouts happening there. All right, moving on to the 4th place team in the NL East. I'm looking at the New York Mets, kind of solidifying that 4th place position.
The Mets, I really had some high expectations after what they did last year. I thought that they could come in, make a few off-season moves, and they could be contending for the NL East crown. But they go and they get rid of R.A. Dickey, the Cy Young winner. They did re-sign David Wright, I should say, but there's just not much else that they got because they also were in a trade with the Blue Jays, and they ended up R.A. Dickey being sent up to the Blue Jays. They get a couple prospects, Travis d'Arnaud and Noah Syndergaard. Who? Exactly, a couple prospects for a Cy Young winner. It's not going to help them now. Maybe it will in the future, but as for this year, I don't see much happening for the New York Mets.
Yeah, they do have Travis d'Arnaud, and he's going to be the centerpiece of the Mets organization there, and a catcher. And, of course, they also picked up catcher John Buck and Anthony Recker as well. So, once again, though, I just think that this is a team that, once again, like Miami, is in the rebuilding phase, but there's just too many intangibles here.
Yeah, they did shore up their rotation a little bit. I mean, Sean Markham is going to help them. They still have Johan Santana. It'll be all right. But still, when you lose a Cy Young winner, I don't care how old R.A. Dickey is, I don't care that he's a knuckleball pitcher, he was still somebody who went out there and won you nearly 20 games last year. So to lose that is going to be very tough. It could be a long season this year, but I do see in the long run the Mets being very productive in the National League within just a couple more years. It won't happen this year, so don't get your hopes up too much there in Queens. But give it another year or so, and I think you'll see these prospects starting to come up through the program, and we could have something special coming out of New York, and it's not the Yankees.
No. Hey, by the way, Johan Santana last year threw the first Mets no-hitter, but of course, he was shut down in August. So.
And hopefully, again, we're going to talk later in this podcast about the Washington Nationals having a pitcher that was shut down. We always forget about the New York Mets and Santana being shut down last year. The first no-hitter in Mets history is not something to laugh at. And, maybe he can come back. You don't mess with the Johan. If he's back and ready to go, maybe things will be better than we expect for the Mets.
Perhaps the Mets will get a cup of Johan. Who knows? Let's take a look at our third place pick. I'm actually looking at Philadelphia kind of being in the mix for possibly a division race here. I have a pick coming in pretty much as a 500 team this year.
Yeah, they could, like they do pretty much every year. They have the possibility of going all the way to the top just because they are the Phillies and they win close games. They have normally a very solid pitching staff that can keep them in games, and then all it takes is, a couple key hits here and there, and all of a sudden you're a division winner. And that's what the Phillies have done for so many years. They are getting old, though. This may be the last chance that they have for a while to be contending at a title shot. They're going to need to start rebuilding because guys like Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, they're starting to get up there in age. So I'm fearful, but I'm still optimistic that the Phillies could go and make a run at this division title. But I agree, they will finish third.
Yeah, now, a couple interesting things about the Phillies. They picked up a couple key additions with John Lannon, who came from the Washington Nationals organization, and Chad Durbin, who came from Atlanta. Both pitchers, and I think they're definitely going to show up the pitching rotation here as well.
Yeah, and when you still have, Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels all out there, those are going to be your big three that are going to be going all year round, which is going to be good. And of course, you still have Jonathan Papelbon to close things out. They have the good core. They have the good nucleus. It's whether some of these role players are going to come in and step up and be a big part of it. They got speedy outfielder in Ben Revere. They got him in the off season, so that will help. They also have Michael Young and Delman Young now going to be in there in the meat of the order. So lots of possibilities. Again, I'm not sure if it will be enough. However, it's something to keep your eye on as this year goes on because they could be just one trade at the trade deadline and all of a sudden be a title contender without a doubt.
Yeah, they could become alive. I think the big thing right now, old age is one of the big factors. Can these people hold up? Can these players like Halladay hold up over a period of time, and Chase Utley and Ryan Howard? But the other thing, too, are the injury woes. Delman Young, who they just signed as a free agent, he's going to be starting right field despite a microfracture knee surgery over the offseason. Are these injuries going to be rearing their ugly head during the season as well? So it's a delicate calculus there in Philadelphia, but I agree with you. They do have the nucleus. If they could stay one step ahead of the injury bug and maybe get a little pop and sizzle on the bat, this could be a team that could be challenging for the division title.
And here's where the being in the National League kind of is a bummer because someone like Delman Young, who, like you said, with that microfracture injury, someone like Ryan Howard, who's getting a few too many years on him to be playing every day. You could give him that day off, but keep the great bat in the lineup by using a designated hitter. You can't do that in the National League, and it just makes things very difficult, especially for a team like the Phillies who are getting up there in age to try to keep competing year in and year out. And that's why I think our second place team, the Atlanta Braves, that's why I think they're going to make the run, a much better run at a division title here because of their youth. Jason Hayward, Freddie Freeman, they've been very solid in their play so far with the Atlanta Braves. Then they go out and get a couple outfielders, the Upton brothers. They get Justin Upton, they get B.J. Upton. That's the 2 through 5 hitters right there. All very young, very, very talented that can do a lot of things for this Braves team. Even when they've lost a Hall of Famer in Chipper Jones, they can still come out and do big things because of their youth.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, replacing Chipper Jones, who was the blue chip player for the Atlanta Braves, losing him was big, but I think they have enough pop and sizzle in the bats to keep this organization going in the right direction. Another prospect to watch, right-hand pitcher Julio Teheran. This guy kind of took a step back last season, but this guy's 22 years old and has fantastic stuff. The trade with Randall Delgado to the Arizona Diamondbacks gives him a better shot at securing the spot in this rotation as well.
Yeah, the rotation is the only thing that scares me. And if the new guy, if Teheran can come in and live up to his potential, then I think this rotation could be fine. I mean, they got rid of Jurgens, no problem. They have Chris Medlin as probably the number 2. He was pitched like an ace for a lot of last year. If he can do that again, you still have Mike Minor, you still have Tim Hudson, still have Paul Mulholland. That's a pretty solid rotation. I mean, no real huge big names in it, like we're used to for some of our contending teams. However, you don't need to be a big name to get the job done. Braves have shown that for years. I wonder if it'll happen this year.
Yeah. Also, there's some questions whether or not Brian McCann will be ready to play. He had shoulder surgery back in October, and although he's contending he's going to be in the lineup on opening day, McCann may be getting back into the lineup by the end of April, depending upon how quickly he can heal from that shoulder surgery. But if he does not come back, you're looking at either Gerald Laird or Matt Pagnozzi, or perhaps Evan Gattis, who's a catcher and an outfielder that the Braves have. And what's interesting about this is going to allow Freddie Gonzalez, the manager, to actually kind of be creative, sort of like the way Clint Hurdle is with the Pirates, on basically moving people around, moving catchers to the outfield, and definitely putting together an interesting platoon situation here.
And again, you don't have the DH to be able to mess around with your lineup like that. You're going to see a lot of times where Laird will play a couple games and then maybe move to the outfield. Even when McCann comes back, he might play a couple games in the outfield to try to give his body a little bit of rest. So lots of possibilities for Atlanta, and I think that they're definitely a wild card potential team, but it could be even more than that if everybody plays the way that we expect them to and their rotation holds up. There's no reason that they can't go to the next step.
No, exactly. And this leads us to, of course, our first place team that for the division, the team that basically really surprised everybody last year. And that's the Washington Nationals. Welcome to DC. And of course, when you say the Washington Nationals, the big name that basically comes to mind is Mr. Strasburg. Will Steven Strasburg be able to pitch an entire season? They're ace phenom out there.
Yeah, Greg, that is the big question, whether Strasburg can come back like that. I hope that he does. I hope he has a great year, because otherwise the Nationals are going to kind of look foolish for shutting him down last year when they were by far the best team in Major League Baseball and ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs as a result because they shut him down. They couldn't quite get the wins out of it. Now, without Strasburg, was that the reason they lost? No, not exactly. But still, one thing does lead to another. Thing is, the Nationals probably had the best roster in baseball last year. Now Steven Strasburg is healthy, and with their offseason additions, they've only gotten better. Their main addition, Denard Span, he's going to come right into the starting lineup. He's probably going to be the leadoff hitter. That's the center fielder. That was really the one weak spot in their lineup. He comes in as a center fielder, probably as the leadoff hitter. I see a lot of great things happening with the Nationals. They've only gotten better.
They also picked up Rafael Soriano, and if that name sounds familiar, yes, he saved 42 games for the Yankees last year. And this guy basically moves Drew Storen and Tyler Clippard out of the pressure cooker ninth inning role, because now you can put Soriano in the mix and definitely secure some games.
Yeah, that was what the Yankees are worried about when they lost their closer. when they lost Mariano Rivera was, how is Rafael Soriano going to come in and compete? And guess what? He was a competitor. He came in and compete like we love seeing guys do. So now the Nationals get to work with them. There's really not a hole in this roster. The two spots that they were kind of iffy on were the leadoff spot and the closer. Kind of funny. Whoever starts the game and whoever finishes it. And they shored up both of them. There's really not a single hole on this roster, and that's why the Nationals are not only our favorite to win the NL East, but our favorite, or at least my favorite, I think, to be able to go all the way to the World Series out of the National League.
They'll definitely go deep in the playoffs, no doubt about it.
I mean, don't forget about some of the young guys. I mean, Bryce Harper, I don't even think he's 21 yet. He's probably batting second for the Nationals this year. Came right in and did big things in the outfield for the Nationals. I mean, stole home as a 19-year-old. I think the youngest ever to do that. There's lots of promising things for the Nationals, not just for this year, but they're young. This is sustainable growth.
Yeah, so that's the key thing. They're young, and they're pretty much injury-free as a group. If we can just keep Strasburg off the injury list there, I think that, I mean, this is a team that's poised to go many years and poised to basically make a run for definitely the pennant here.
Like you said, staying healthy is going to be the big issue. It's a long season, 160 games.
Yeah.
Can they do it?
That's the big question. Well, that wraps up our National League East with our picks. Our next review is going to be on the National League West. Until then, I'm Greg Pichero. That's Mr. Dotson, the Value Man. We'll see you in a few.